What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to discuss, review, and break down SmackDown, which happened last night from the Thunderdome. Overall thoughts on the show, I thought this was a pretty good show. Not the best show in the world, but certainly better than Raw. Let's be honest, I mean, Raw is the worst show in the world. I wouldn't say the worst show in wrestling history, I'd say the worst show in television history. Raw is a really, really bad show that I don't even want to review, but, you know, I have a channel, so I'm going to review it anyway. And I want the show to get better. But overall, this is a SmackDown review. This is not Raw. So, Raw, garbage. SmackDown, awesome. You know, to start off, to really, like, this show is built around Cesaro trying to get his title shot against Roman Reigns, and they've been building to it ever since last week, which I thought last week's last week's fallout from SmackDown on the SmackDown side was much better than Raw's. It was not the best SmackDown after WrestleMania, but it got the job done in my eyes. Raw, I didn't even watch it, mainly because I saw clips of it, but I barely even watched it. That's how bad the show is. Like, I'm not invested in that show. That show is honestly the worst show in the history of professional wrestling right now. Right now, not like as a whole. Like, Raw had some awesome episodes back in the day, but like, it's the worst show in the history of professional wrestling now. And right now, it's the worst show, I believe, in television history. Like, that show is one of the worst shows you could possibly watch. But we're not going to be discussing about Raw. We're here to discuss SmackDown. Cesaro kicks off the show. Before he speaks, Seth Rollins comes out, which he wrestled Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, night one, which was an awesome match. I really enjoyed that match. Last week on SmackDown, one of my biggest gripes with that show was they constantly, and I swear to God, they constantly showed that clip with Cesaro doing the Cesaro swing on Seth Rollins, which was an awesome moment. I'm not denying that whatsoever. It's just that these people played that clip like 20 times at least. I didn't count, but like I assumed like over 20 times during that show last week, and I was like, all right, we get it. He did it all. He spun Seth Rollins like crazy at WrestleMania, which, by the way, was actually like awesome. Like, we counted, like the crowd was on fire during that match. I was there. But yeah, Seth Rollins comes out. He comes out to congratulate Cesaro. Says that he did it and reached his full potential. He says that he filled his potential because he was in the ring at WrestleMania with, you guessed it, Seth Rollins, who is a stooge. I'm kidding. Seth Rollins is a fantastic wrestler, but he's been getting a lot of hate these past few years, especially on social media because he's a quote-unquote WWE guy. But, I mean, what can you do? You work for WWE. Of course you want to make WWE look good, so, I mean, you can't really blame him for that. Calls himself the new Mr. WrestleMania. Says that he gave him the performance of his life and sent him to the promised land. He says that he sets his eyes on the Universal title and says that it is not over with Cesaro until Seth Rollins says it's over. Says on the worst day and on his best day, Cesaro couldn't beat him. Cesaro asks him to step in the ring, and Seth is about to come in until Jey Uso comes out. Uso says that he cannot beat Roman Reigns, and he cannot beat Jey Uso. Well, let's see about that. Roman and Uso are working together to surround Cesaro. Daniel Bryan comes out to help Cesaro. Both Uso and Seth leave. Bryan says that Seth came out because he lost at Mania, and Uso came out because Roman told him to, which, of course, is true. Yeah, I mean, Roman is the best thing on WWE TV. Of course he's going to be doing that. Says that he should be talking about the work he put in at Mania. Says that they are losers. And also, actually, no. Roman comes out and basically says he put in the work. He put in the work and basically pinned both. He stacked them and he smashed them, as he said. And basically says that they are the losers and they are the main event losers. Calls Daniel Bryan a WrestleMania loser. Calls Cesaro a casino loser with bad luck. He ends with that they are both surrounded with people who want to whip their ass, and we start a brawl. And you assume, of course, in typical WWE fashion, a tag match is sanctioned. All right. Quick notes on the match. Bryan and Uso start. Bryan takes control in the beginning. Double team by Cesaro and Bryan. Cesaro delivers a vertical suplex. 2 count. Seth tags in. We got a sling blade by Seth Rollins. 2 count. Seth takes control over Cesaro. Jey Uso takes control over Cesaro. Right hand by Uso. Knee delivered by Seth Rollins. Headlock by Rollins. Cesaro fights back. Rollins tries to go for a crossbody, but Cesaro counters in a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Bryan tags in and hits the yes kicks, of course, in typical Daniel Bryan fashion. Seth hits the Pele kick later on. Bryan applies the ankle lock and then hits a German suplex on Seth. 2 count. Bryan went for the running knee, but Seth counters with a devastating buckle bomb, which Seth is known for his buckle bombs, and a lot of people say he ended Sting's career because, that buckle bomb was really devastating. But that's another story for another time. Uso tags in and hits a splash on Bryan, but Cesaro saved Bryan from the pinfall. Rollins and Uso double team outside the ring with a double suplex on Bryan. Big boot by Rollins on Bryan from the apron. Uso stomping on Bryan. Bryan fights back. Drop by Uso, 2 count. Both Rollins and Bryan hit a double clothesline. Then later a clothesline by Cesaro, a 2 count. Uso hits a step up enziguri. Cesaro hits a flying uppercut after. Cesaro tries to go for the neutralizer on Uso, but Uso later counters, but Cesaro counters back with an uppercut. Rollins tags in. Bryan hits a suicide dive or a tompe suicida. Uso gets caught after trying to hit a suicide dive. Cesaro goes for the top and Uso counters with a super kick. Rollins and Cesaro exchange. Cesaro tries to go for the swing, but Rollins counters. Cesaro applies the sharpshooter, but Uso super kicks Cesaro. Uso tags in, goes for the top, but Cesaro uppercuts him. Rollins walks out in typical heel fashion and typical Seth Rollins fashion. Superplex by Cesaro on Uso. Bryan tags in and hits a running knee on Uso for the 3 count. Okay, overall thoughts on this match? Pretty awesome match. I really enjoyed it. This match was a awesome tag team match. Granted, WWE loves doing their tag team matches. Now, granted, they don't like tag team wrestling, but they love throwing tag team booking just for the sake of it because I feel like they have nothing else to do. So that's what they do. But overall, this was an awesome match. I really enjoyed it. Uso, Bryan, Cesaro, and Rollins really got their A game in this match, and I really enjoyed it. After that, Bryan speaks on the microphone and says that he basically calls out Roman, and Uso comes in, and then Cesaro just swings Uso. Like, he swings Jey Uso like crazy. And Cesaro and Bryan wait for Roman. Bryan asks Cesaro to swing Jey Uso again, which is crazy. Cesaro swings Jey again. Still waiting for Roman to come out to try to save his cousin. What do we get? No Roman in typical Roman Reigns fashion and in heel fashion because, he is a heel and is supposed to be doing that. He does not come out. Bryan says that he is afraid and says that Roman cannot beat Cesaro. Now, this was overall, all of this combined, the first segment, the match, and then the segment after, all of that was the first 40 minutes of SmackDown. I'm being 100% honest. That was like the literal first 40 minutes of SmackDown. Not bad, though. I really enjoyed it. One little gripe I have with this segment, especially in the end, well, really it's the entire it's actually the previous segment, is that Bryan is speaking for Cesaro. Cesaro was always the guy that was over and looked at by fans as someone who should be champion. Now, granted, maybe a lot of people, some say his mic skills are not the best, but why not let Cesaro speak instead of having Bryan speak for him? You know what I mean? I feel like if you had Bryan actually if you had Bryan do something else, because a lot of people were complaining that Bryan was brought in the match at WrestleMania in the triple threat against Edge and Roman, which I don't know why you would complain. I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, if anything, the match at Mania shouldn't have been a triple threat. The 2 main events at WrestleMania should have been Edge and McIntyre, in which I would book Edge turning heel on McIntyre and win the belt in controversial fashion. That's how I would book McIntyre and Edge, but that match never happened at all. I don't know why. Instead, they moved Edge to SmackDown and put him against Reigns, and then later on, Bryan incorporated himself in that match. And it was an awesome triple threat. I'm not going to say it was bad. It was awesome. But, The right man won. Roman Reigns won. Roman Reigns should not lose. He's doing the best work of his career. If you are complaining about Roman Reigns now, the same way that you were complaining about Roman Reigns as a babyface, I don't know what to tell you. You do not know what's going on. My opinion. All the respect to you. I'm just saying you guys do not know. You guys don't understand what's going on if you are really just crapping on Roman. Look, you may not. If you don't like it, it's fine. But if you really don't understand it and just crap on it for no reason, I don't know. Roman is doing the best work of his career, in my opinion. And it's about time they finally turn this guy heel after like all those years doing the Roman experiment, which never worked, by the way. He couldn't cut good promos on his own. And the fact that he has Paul Heyman with him is the best thing for him. And Roman has improved greatly. In ring, he was always great. I'm not denying his in-ring work. In ring, Roman Reigns was awesome, even as a babyface when fans didn't like him. But like as a babyface character, no, he was never the best, in my opinion. Now, next up, we got Adam Pearce backstage with Apollo Crews. He's angry that he has to defend his Intercontinental title against Kevin Owens. Of course, typical heel complaint fashion. What do you expect? Adam Pearce is backstage with Apollo Crews. He's angry that he has to defend his... Oh, no. We got Jey Uso backstage. My bad, I read the wrong one. He says that he's about to throw up. And, he says that Cesaro should step up to the head of the table. All right, next match we get Nia Jax versus Tamina. What can I say about this match? Not the best match in the world, in my opinion. I mean, it was what it was, but here are a couple notes. Nia begins to take control of the match. Tamina fights back. Takedown by Tamina and right hands by Tamina. Shayna grabs Nia's leg. Both go outside. Tamina drags Nia to the barricade. Tamina, overall, she looks great in this match. Reggie, yes, that guy that was with Carmella, he came back. He a kick to Nia by Tamina, roll up by Tamina, and Tamina wins the match. Overall thoughts, generic match. I really didn't care for it, honestly. Why is Shayna still in the tag team with Nia Jax? Don't know why. Again, as I said on my Raw review, Shayna needs to be in the main event. I don't care what anybody says. Shayna needs to be in the main event. We get Kevin Owens. We get a backstage interview with him. Says that it has been years since he has gotten the Intercontinental title opportunity. Says that he is not turning that opportunity down. Big E comes in and says that this is his match and this is his title. Owen says that it's his opportunity tonight. And yeah, that's what it was. After that, we get Daniel Bryan backstage with Adam Pearce demanding a match to be made between Roman Reigns and Cesaro for the Universal title. Overall, a little bit of thoughts on this segment. Why is Daniel Bryan asking a match between Roman and Cesaro for the Universal title? Shouldn't it be Cesaro doing that instead of Bryan? But I feel like everything kind of changes and kind of made sense by the end of the show. All right, now we got Kevin Owens versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental title. Overall thoughts on this match? Not the greatest match in the world, but it was not that bad. Both lock up, single leg takedown by Kevin Owens, side headlock by Owens, inside cradle by Apollo, 1 count, Kevin Owens side headlock once again, drop kick by Owens, flare chops by Owens on Apollo, elbows and senton by Owens, sends Apollo over the top rope. Owens is about to jump over, but gets distracted by the quote-unquote commander with, that big tall guy with Apollo Crews. Apollo later takes control. Suplex by Apollo. Right hands by Apollo. Stomps Owens in the corner. Sends Owens outside the ring. Then all of a sudden, after that, Owens hits a Swanton Bomb. 2 count. Sami Zayn comes out, and then we go to commercial break. Come back to commercial breaks. Zayn is on commentary. Both are on the top. Owens gets knocked down. Owen ducks and hits a super kick on Apollo. 2 count. Crews hits a clothesline. 2 count. Then he hits a step up enziguri, and then German suplexes on Owens. We get a third German suplex by Apollo. He tries to pin him, gets a 2 count. We get a release German by Kevin Owens. A cannonball in the corner by Owens on Apollo. Second cannonball by Owens on Apollo Crews. Cover and the 2 count. Owens tries to go for a stunner. A back suplex. Owens goes to the top. Frog splash on Apollo outside the ring. The commander distracts him. Apollo rolls up Owens for the win, and Apollo Crews retains the U.S. title. Overall thoughts on the match. Again, not the best match in the world, but it got the job done. Apollo's probably going to be holding on to that title for a while now. But yeah, I mean, they should put a little more emphasis on the IC title. I feel like the IC title in current times is I don't want to be disrespectful, but like the IC title nowadays is a joke. They don't really put that much emphasis on the IC title or the US title. I don't even know who the US champion is. Honestly, I don't. Who was it? Sheamus? Yeah, like you need to put emphasis on your mid-card titles. Like, don't. Yes, some people do not like calling the term mid-card, but like they are. But like at least put the same emphasis that you do of the Universal and WWE title with the US and Intercontinental title. AEW has their TNT title. That's their mid-card / television title. And they literally just put that title on the line on main events with Darby Allin. Like, he puts on great matches. And like he had that match with Matt Hardy like 2 weeks ago. And he had that match with Jungle Boy last week. I mean, they put a lot of emphasis on their mid-card title. WWE needs to do that. And I feel like they're dropping the ball like that with the Intercontinental title as a whole. But Apollo Crews is a great Intercontinental champion, of course. Next up, we got a Paul Heyman backstage interview. He's asked if Roman accepts the challenge. Heyman says that he likes Cesaro, respects the man, and admires and loves the man in a professional sort of way. Says he made a name for himself with one name. Cesaro is his favorite Cesaro. Says that let's give these people a prediction. Then later on, he's like, nah, let's give them a spoiler. And says everyone in the tribe will hear an answer from Roman Reigns later tonight. Then we get Apollo Crews backstage after his match with Owens. He basically says that the commander is cleaning the tears of Kevin Owens. He cuts a crazy promo celebrating his win. All of a sudden, Big E attacks him out of nowhere, and the referees try to stop him. Blah, blah, blah. Then we get an Aleister Black video package. Now, this video package looked pretty dope. I actually really enjoyed it. This was awesome. He looked really heelish in this one. I do believe he's going to be coming back as a heel. But if he comes back as a babyface, I mean, in retrospect, it kind of wouldn't make sense. But at the same time, I would love to see him back as a babyface. Literally, one thing I propose is that if they had been using Aleister Black and just not really just sending him to the sidelines, what I would have done was have him be dominant throughout this first half of the year. Roman Reigns maybe drops the belt to like maybe a Cesaro for now. Granted, you're probably going to be like, oh, but Cesaro will then later be a transitional champion, which, yeah, but have him have a small little run. He will chase back the title like later on. Roman gets the belt back, then goes on a completely dominant run, and then of course Aleister wins the Rumble, and then defeats Reigns at next year's WrestleMania. I wish that'd be my scenario, but hey, probably you guys have a better scenario. But honestly, like Aleister Black I look at him as a main event guy. The fact that they brought him up to the main roster and just have him to be doing promos inside an empty room is ridiculous. This guy should already be WWE champion. But of course, in typical WWE fashion, they always drop the ball. They drop the ball on him, and also they'd be making some poor decisions. I mean, my God, these people just released Samoa Joe like last week. Like, it's ridiculous. How do you release Samoa Joe? First of all, how do you release Samoa Joe? I don't understand. Like, dude, Samoa Joe is another guy. This guy should have been WWE champion. Don't understand, but it is what it is. But it gets me hyped for Aleister Black, but it gets me hyped. But of course, WWE always like just takes your hype away. And yeah, we get Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler backstage. I didn't care. In my opinion, they're not a true tag team. I mean, people say, oh, they are a tag team. They're the tag team champions. But I honestly don't care. Like, Roode and Ziggler, like, come on, man. Robert Roode, or Bobby Roode, whatever you want to call him, his true tag team was with James Storm. # beer money in TNA, okay? That's the true tag team that Robert Roode or Bobby Roode was a part of. Beer Money Incorporated. This tag team with Ziggler is just an example of two guys being put together and nobody cares. Then Bayley interrupts, talks about her match with Bianca at WrestleMania. Then all of a sudden we get Montez Ford coming in. And basically he just hears what Bayley has to say. He has the phone and basically has Bianca in speaker. And she's like, oh, Bayley's talking to you. I'm like right next to her right now. And then Bianca she's like, all right, I'll be there. I'm not gonna lie, I actually really enjoyed that. Then later on, Bianca comes in, and she's like, all right, if you got it, if you got something to say it to my face. Bailey just puts her over a million. She puts her over like $1,000,000. Like, let's just say that. Of course, she's a heel, so of course she's gonna be doing that. But yeah, it was a pretty funny segment. I was pretty entertained by that. All right, next up we got Dominic and Mysterio versus Chad, Gable, and Otis. We've seen these people feud for how many weeks on SmackDown? Again, the booking, we've seen this. We've seen a match, I believe, with I think it was Mysterio versus Otis. Yeah, these people were feuding over and over. What they do is they put one guy from each tag team, fight it off, and then the others the next week, and then they do a full tag team match the next week. They do this all the time, and it's really ridiculous. I didn't take a lot of notes on this, but I started taking notes by the middle of the match. But here you go. We got a belly to belly by Chad Gable. Second belly to belly by Gable on Dominic. Gable tries to go for a German suplex, but Dominic escapes. Gable gets sent to the top rope. Dominic tags in. Rey Mysterio hits a sunset flip into a roll-up. Later, Gable and Mysterio are both on the top of the ring. Gable tries to throw him on the canvas, but Mysterio counters it with a beautiful Hurricane Rana, by the way. That was an awesome Hurricane Rana. 2 count by Mysterio. Dominic gets tagged in. Double team by both Mysterio and Dominic. Mysterio slides through the apron and drops Gable outside the ring. Dominic slides out and hits a sunset flip. That was really not that good on the barricade. Rey tags in. Double team by both. Dominic jumps over the top rope, but Otis catches Dominic. Dominic escapes and sends Otis to the announce table. We got a 619 by Mysterio. Mysterio goes to the top and shades of Eddie Guerrero. God bless Eddie Guerrero, man. Eddie Guerrero's a legend. And hits a frog splash on Gable. Hits the 3 count. And yeah, overall, this is not a bad match. Just my gripe with it is just the booking of it. Come on, we've seen them feud for how many weeks on SmackDown? It's the lazy booking. Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon and all the writers that are there. They probably have good ideas, but let's be honest. Vince and Bruce Pritchard really don't care about them. All right, now we got the final segment. He comes out with Daniel Bryan. He's waiting for Roman Reigns to show up. They still wait for him. Roman Reigns finally comes out, and Roman Reigns literally, in typical heel, well, not in typical heel fashion, but he's being a really strong heel. Roman Reigns literally just goes straight at Cesaro, straight to his face. He says that Cesaro does not deserve the title shot. He says that he's the tribal chief and the head of the table. He says that his answer is no, and it will always be no. To his face. To Cesaro's face. If that is not a strong heel, I don't know what is. Says that Cesaro will never be at his level. Says that he himself issues the challenges around here. And says that his challenges against Daniel Bryan. Says that he never liked Daniel Bryan. And says that he will never like him, but will give him one more opportunity for the Universal title. Says that next week on SmackDown, Bryan will get one more opportunity. Cesaro says that Bryan has to take it, of course. Reigns says that if Bryan loses, he never wants to see Bryan step foot on SmackDown again. Then Bryan accepts. The show ends. What are my thoughts on this segment? I enjoyed this segment. Roman Reigns, of course, he's literally the best thing on the show. Nobody should complain. He is the best thing on SmackDown right now, and the best thing in WWE. People, literally, this guy is single-handedly the best wrestler in the world today. People say, oh, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega and Roman Reigns are the 2 best wrestlers in the world today, period. Both. But yeah, next week we get Bryan and Reigns for the Universal title. What are my thoughts? Awesome. Now, there was a report that came out a couple of days ago talking about Bryan, how he wants to wrestle for other companies, and that also that they talk about how his when his contract is up. I believe his contract is up in the fall. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if his contract is up in the fall, I mean it's in the fall. That's only a few months away. But I mean, I feel like most likely Bryan is gonna lose next week, and he's gonna probably be moved to Raw because God knows Raw needs a lot of new faces as it can get. But I mean, people say, I mean, I even agree. If just because you have new faces doesn't mean your show's instantly gonna be good. I mean, I feel like they're probably gonna send in Bryan for help and write him off the television, or he's probably going to take a break, and he's going to spend time with his family, all that stuff. But I do believe that Reigns is going to retain the title next week. Overall thoughts on the show? Pretty good show. I really enjoyed it. It was not that bad of a show, especially the first hour. The first hour and the first 40 minutes of the show was really good. The middle of the show is kind of eh. I was like, it's not the best show in the world, but it's not terrible. Unlike Raw, like every segment. I mean, granted, some matches are good, but like the booking is just god awful. And like you see that awful booking here, but yeah. But that final segment was really the straw that broke the camel's back and made this a pretty good show. I really enjoyed the ending with Reigns literally just going straight at Cesaro and then saying that, no, I don't want to challenge you. I want to challenge Bryan. And yeah, overall it was a good show. And yeah, that was my SmackDown review from last night. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that bell for notifications. And yeah, this is Broken Havoc signing out.